Hello, I am Tracker CD, and today we're going to discuss Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh boy, everybody's favourite topic. Now, in recent years, it's safe to say Sonic the Hedgehog's had a bit of a fall from grace. Again, Sonic Generations and all that was great, and I even didn't especially mind Sonic Lost World when it came out, but it's safe to say that Sonic Boom kind of dragged down Sonic's reputation. And so now everyone's been looking very forward to the 25th anniversary of Sonic to see what that brings. A big 25th anniversary celebration game, as with Sonic Generations, that could well be good, especially given the extra long development time it's had while Sonic Boom was bridging the gap and all that. However, as of late, I have begun to notice a lot of, well, to be frank, bullshit going around in the Sonic community. Now look, the Sonic fanbase isn't exactly hailed as one of the greatest fanbases ever. In fact, polar opposite. The Sonic fanbase is almost universally hated. And there's plenty of reasons for that, and you know, some of it's actually legitimate reasons to hate the Sonic fanbase, because I'm going to be blunt, I'm part of the Sonic fanbase. I still consider myself that, despite practically moving on to other more Hatsune Miku related things. But at the same time, it's like, Sonic has been a huge part of my life, and I'm still very much a fan of it. I've got the figures next to me as I am speaking this and all that, so it's safe to say that Sonic still means a lot to me. And the community, I've got amazing friends in the Sonic community. I've been to plenty of amazing Sonic events, such as Summer of Sonic, but as of late, I've been reminded why the Sonic community can be ridiculed. And in some cases I kind of agree with it, because some of the stuff I have seen recently in the drought of information anticipating the 25th anniversary has been fucking ridiculous. I mean, okay, I'm going to be straight off the bat, this is not scripted, so I'm going to waffle a lot. And second of all, I'm going to swear a lot, because that's just my commentary style. So yeah, this is me going to be talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog 25th anniversary news drought as of late, and what has been done wrong in handling that through the community, and where people need to kind of begin to get a grip, in my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm perfect here, I'm not some kind of pinnacle of the Sonic community, because, I mean, even then, my cynical attitude, that could be construed as something that's a bit shit. But at the same time, I feel that I need to weigh in on this, because there's a lot of influential folks in the Sonic community, and I think that some of that influence might be being used in a negative way that's not impacting the community well, and certainly not creating a good outlook for the fan base outside of the Sonic community. So, the Sonic news drought of 2015, and to an extent 16, because, oh boy, there sure has been. Last year was not an eventful year for the Sonic franchise. We got Sonic Runners, a very, very crappy mobile game. Sonic Dash 2, which was just a sequel to Sonic Dash, which is actually an alright mobile game. You're doing okay, Hardlight. We got Sonic Lost World ported to the PC, which, yay. But really, it wasn't a very good year for Sonic fans. I didn't care, because frankly, I think that it was good to give Sonic a break, and it let Sega focus on a lot of other things. We got the Sega 3D Classics, we got our new Hatsune Miku game brought over here, Yakuza 5, we got all this cool stuff brought over from Japan and all that, and it was nice to have a year where Sega weren't just plugging away at Sonic. But obviously, I can understand why people wanted more news on Sonic, and I can sympathise, because I wanted more Sonic news as well. And I'm all up for more Sonic news, and I'm waiting for it desperately at this point. But I feel that this desperation for more Sonic news has become a bit easy to exploit as of late, and it has been. So, let's go into 2016, kick off the new year, and how do we kick it off? Oh boy, rumours. Rumours up the arse. There have been a lot of Sonic rumours lately, and I'm going to be blunt, a lot of them do just boil down to utter bullshit, but I'm going to dignify them with a response. So first up, the other day there was something on 4chan called Sonic Genesis, The Origin of Chaos. Now, for the record, this is already confirmed fake, this was done by someone from Sonic Stadium. Literally as a joke to prove how easy it was to fool people. And okay, Sonic Genesis, The Origin of Chaos is a blatantly try-hard, edgy name. Nobody's gonna fall for something as stupid as that. Problem is they did, and people made videos on something that was really blatantly a joke. Now look, I don't hold grudges against folks who make this stuff. They have channels to maintain, they have money to make. I don't monetize, so I can't sympathise with that, but at the same time, I can understand why they do it. And with a fan base that, I'm going to be blunt, can be as gullible as the Sonic fan base, there's obviously going to be a supply and demand for it. But this kind of stuff doesn't help the community look any better than normal. It just paints the Sonic fan community as a bunch of gullible fools. Sonic Genesis, the origin of chaos, sounds like something I'd come up with on Sonic Fan Wiki when I was 12 years old, and that was the intention. It was intentionally made. And then even then, another part of that rumour, that same rumour, Sonic Adventure 3. Come the fuck on. Seriously. But the problem was, people believed it. And that even goes against all common sense in regards to the development of the series. The game was known internally, according to this supposed game dev, as Sonic Adventure 3. That doesn't make sense. Sonic Unleashed already took that development title because Sonic Unleashed is, like it or not, it's basically Sonic Adventure 3. I know, now I'm going to quickly explain this. Sonic Adventure 3, obviously, Sonic Unleashed isn't playing like a Sonic Adventure game. There's not got much in common with it. But at the same time, it kind of has, with the story kind of mirroring Sonic Adventures. And at the same time, I'm not looking at the gameplay being similar. I'm looking at what Sonic Team themselves said. Sega pretty much hyped it up as a Sonic Adventure 3 around the time. And as confirmed in the history of Sonic book, the game literally started as Sonic Adventure 3. And in fact, the Japanese title of the game is supposed to signpost it as the third adventure game, hence why it's called Sonic World Adventure in Japan. It is basically Sonic Adventure 3, like it or not. Now, I'm not saying that Sega couldn't use the Sonic Adventure 3 name for something else, because technically they don't have a game called Sonic Adventure 3. They could still use that name because they're Sonic Team, they can do what they want. I'm just saying that it's very unlikely, and let's be honest, it's just kind of reactionary to go make a full video on this of something as absurd as Sonic Adventure 3 accompanied by a try-hard title like Sonic Genesis Origin of Chaos. It's reactionary, it plays into people's drought of Sonic news. People are very, very, very hungry for Sonic news lately, and I think this has become kind of a problem with how they're consuming it. People are beginning to believe really dubious things from really dubious sources. And when people who are influential in the Sonic community pick that up, that's when it gets bad, because it makes the Sonic community in general look like a bunch of gullible fools. And in regards to the whole Sonic Adventure 3 rumours, now look, I think the chances of something tying into the Adventure series are actually quite likely at this point, because there's enough evidence to sort of support it, I guess, but not really on the other hand. Now, you could go, hey, look, they're bringing back Crush 40, they were a huge staple of the Sonic Adventure series, and they deleted their post about it too, so maybe they're trying to hide something. Yeah, but it's just talks. Talks can fall through. I mean, it's not especially likely, but talks can fall through, and talks always fall through in this business. I mean, look back with the Sonic series, Sonic Extreme was kind of touted as the big Sonic project on the Saturn. Talks fell through there because of the Knights engine use. Talks will always fall through. I'm not saying that the Crush 40 talks are necessarily going to fall through, but there's a chance they will, and there's a chance that people will be getting up and saying, oh my god, confirmed, Crush 40 are coming back, Sonic Adventure 3. But there's a chance all that's for nothing, and that's kind of a dangerous thing to be spreading around as though it is a confirmed fact. I mean, folks can argue that it is as good as a fact, but I don't personally think there's enough of a, well, substance around the rumour for it. And you can say, wow, look at the Sonic Adventure music experience, and you know, that's also a pretty good sign that, you know, we might be getting something for the Sonic Adventure series. But at the same time, it's just a music concert, guys. It's not like Sega's been lax on those lately, they're probably just looking for ways to spread it out. They already did Sonic Adventure music back at the Symphony concert. I wouldn't be surprised if they did more along this line, such as a Sonic Modern Symphony. Not everything needs to be a hint towards a new Sonic game, and that goes for that 25th anniversary logo reveal as well. Tons of folks are taking that as a sign that Sonic Generations 2 must be happening. Guys, it's a freaking logo! Mario, for example, ever since like the 20th anniversary, the Mario anniversary logo has featured the 8-bit classic Mario. But, like, Are we seriously counting, for example, was it the 25th anniversary, where we got the Mario All-Stars pack release? Are we seriously counting that as a classic Mario game? So, oh my god, Classic Sonic on the logo must mean Classic Sonic's coming back. Classic Sonic has been a huge staple of Sonic's marketing for ages because it plays into the nostalgia. Oh boy, more on that in a minute. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to involve the new game. If it was a new render of Classic Sonic or something, then I'd give it more precedence. But given they're just reusing assets, such as the Sonic 1 Sonic artwork from the box, and the Green Hill Zone render blatantly lifted from Generations, it doesn't mean much. It's just a logo. And even then, I made a bunch of Photoshops proving how easy it would be for them to just make a bunch of alternate versions with the other Sonic. So, you know, I'm not taking any of that as much. So that's the 4chan rumours and all that out of the way. Making videos and all that, and it's not just like it was one person or something. It was like multiple people and multiple sources were reporting on this. Sites like GameNesia picked it up, and that's ridiculous. It was an insanely stupid, intentionally stupid joke that people have taken seriously, and that's not a good thing to do if we're trying to make the community not look shit. Anyway, moving on, we have the next category of rumours, which is literally TSSZ rumours. Now, for those unaware, the TSSZ is a Sonic fan site with a bit of a dubious reputation. They've run into some trouble in the past with the fact that one of the main runners is a bit of an asshole. But mostly, they're known for their ridiculous rumours and sources. So, what's the latest TSSZ thing? Well, they've got quite a few things, but the main one we're looking at here is at least 2 Sonic Team titles intended for 2016. Now on its own, that's not exactly mind-blowing. We're going to get a Sonic game this year, and we're also probably going to get, like, a new Puyo Puyo game from Sonic Team, and that'll probably just be a mobile game. That's not mind-blowing stuff. But the thing is, the idea that they have this reputable source, it's kind of dumb. Because a lot of people have now begun seeing the TSSZ source as something that can be very clearly trusted. But it can't. For example, I pointed out that the TSSZ's rumours were not exactly amazing. But then they tried to back the source up, which, you know, fair does. If they can back the source up, I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to accept that maybe I've fucked up. But the problem is, the article that they used as an example to back it up was something claiming a Sonic reboot was on the way, which is from a few years ago. Now instantly you could think, Sonic Boom, oh whoa, they actually predicted it. Thing is, they didn't predict Sonic Boom. What the TSSZ's source said was a Skylanders-style Sonic full reboot was on the way. What actually we got was a multimedia spin-off of Sonic. That's not a reboot. Now, of course, there's conspiracy theories. You can say, oh, it was probably intended as a reboot, but at the same time, no, it wasn't. Sonic Boom was always intended as a spin-off, something like Sonic Synergy or Sonic Boom. It was always intended to be separate from the main series. So, it wasn't a reboot. It was never going to be a reboot of the Sonic series. So all TSSZ did in showing me that article was prove their source was bullshit. And then they tried to back it up with the whole Sonic Dimensions thing from years ago that they got ridiculed for by saying that they reckoned that might have become Lost World. Well, great, but it also might not have become Lost World, so that does a lot of good for your reputation. Basically, what I'm saying is, when it comes to rumours, people need to stop taking these things at face value. Folks are putting a lot of trust in the TSSZ, especially for stuff like that PC rumour from the other day where all these Sega games are possibly coming to PC. They basically guessed at just about every Sega game at recent memory. Yeah, some of those games probably will come to Steam, but that's because you basically noted down every single one. Sonic Colors is an obvious choice because it's Sonic. Project Diva is... I'm not sure, I'd like it to happen, but... But basically, you can't just throw a million darts and say, hey, look, that one hit the bullseye. Well, yeah, you threw a million darts, one of them was probably going to hit it. And to be fair, it's not like the TSSZ are entirely the ones to blame on this. Other sites have been running this stuff as if it's reputable. So they are also to blame for the spread of it all. But the problem to begin with is people running it as reputable and trusting the TSSZ. TSSZ are not especially trustable. People need to learn this. Anyway, as I mentioned, I had a go at the TSSZ over this, along with Timmy T, who's a great chap from Sonic Retro. But then one of the responses I ended up getting was, "You're making the community look bad with this arguing." I disagree. If we question these sources, if we challenge stuff that we don't believe is reputable, that's not making us look immature. If anything, that's making us look more mature. We're not just being fed bullshit. We're analysing what is going on. We're analysing, well, is this actually reputable? Does this make sense? That makes us more mature, not less mature, until you can spin, "Oh, you're all arguing over a blue hedgehog." But no. We're just arguing over what is the correct way to report what may well be bullshit, and as far as I'm concerned, may well is bullshit. TSSZ's track record does not indicate to me confidence. So, yeah, that's TSSZ's rumours addressed. They're probably bullshit. And that's a shame, because TSSZ as of late has been doing really well to build itself back up. Donnie from Sonic Paradox is a very well-known Sonic community member. He has been doing an excellent job at building the TSSZ into a reputable community site. Seeing it kind of get torn down by all of this ridiculous bullshit is just kind of stupid. And seeing people buying into this is also kind of ridiculous, and it's not making the community look any better. Challenging it is the right thing to do, because it shows we can, you know, accept that things might not always be as they seem. We can accept that. And obviously I'm not saying everyone's not taking it with a grain of salt. I'm just saying, from what I've seen of YouTube and Twitter comments and all that, and other sites picking it up, I'm going to be blunt, a lot of people are just accepting this at face value, and they're not learning from previous leaks. And they need to at this point, because I know there's a big drought, and I know people are thirsty for Sonic news, but that doesn't mean that just buying the first line is the thing we should do. We should just wait for more information from Sega. I mean, speculation's not exactly a dangerous thing, but when you're spinning it as if it's reputable, then it's a problem, because it's getting people's hopes up for nothing, for the means of getting hits, and quite frankly, that's shit on. Now, it's easy for me to say all this and say, people shouldn't be believing this, but at the same time, there has to be a reason people are believing this, and you know, I can see that. I can see that, quite frankly, there are a lot of very convenient coincidences, such as the Johnny Gioli post from the other day and all that, but moreover, it's the desire for Sonic Adventure 3. Sonic Adventure 3 is by far one of the most talked about rumours right now. A lot of big community members are discussing it as a real possibility, and you know, I can kind of understand why, but at the same time, a lot of this just comes from very, very wishful thinking, and that wishful thinking kind of manifesting itself as, let's run videos and shit on this, and news reports on this, and yeah. Sonic Adventure 3 has become by far one of the most desired things from the Sonic community. And that is kind of sad, honestly, because people place far too much stock in a name. I already stated earlier, Sonic Adventure 3 is pretty much Sonic Unleashed. Whether you like it or not, that's what it was developed as. It's basically the third adventure game in everything but the name. And even then, internally, it's basically Sonic Adventure 3, and in Japan, it's basically Sonic Adventure 3. So, yeah. Sonic Adventure 3 is requested for, well, I'm going to be blunt, a lot of very stupid reasons. So first of all, Sonic Adventure 2 is still widely considered by many to be a really, really, really good example of a Sonic game. Now, of course, everyone's free to their opinion and all that. And, you know, I loved Sonic Adventure 2 when I first played it and all that. And thing is, I've had to develop a more critical eye lately, because I started this as Saturn, and I started reviewing games, and I couldn't just say that all of these games I played, oh wow, this is great, this is great. I had to begin looking closer at the games, because I kind of just accepted everything as blind and like, oh hey, this is fun. I just kind of had fun with every game that I played, because I didn't look at it critically, and I was younger back then, and it was easy to entertain. And now I can look at games, and I can look into them and see more identifiable flaws. For example, Mario 64, unlikely case, but I don't think Mario 64's aged well. I think the controls have kind of worn down over the years. And like something like Sonic Colors, I wasn't even too keen on it initially, but while Sonic Colors is a well-built game, the level design is kind of piss, and the control scheme is butchered compared to Sonic Unleashed. These are all critical things, and obviously, again, everyone is free to an opinion, they're free to disagree, all that. I'm not saying I'm right, I'm not saying I'm wrong, but I'm just saying that there's no objective answer to all this. Problem is, a lot of folks act like there is an objective answer to this. So let me clear up something. The majority of Sonic fans don't want Sonic Adventure free. The TSSC, I know, ran a poll, thankfully run by Donny, because he's the sane one on the TSSC, where they kind of said, do you want another adventure game or something else? Now, TSSC's reporting of those poll results was fucking stupid, because they basically just spun the headline to make it sound like more people wanted adventure when they didn't. The majority of folks don't want Sonic Adventure back, and the majority of folks outside the Sonic community, whilst it's the initial reaction, give us Sonic Adventure free, the general reaction is, no, don't, because it's becoming a lot more prevalent as of late, especially among YouTube reviewers and stuff in the popular side of YouTube. Sonic Adventure 2 is not a good game. And I've come around to that line of thinking myself lately. Obviously, there's still folks who are going to praise it, and, you know, it's kind of hard to get over nostalgia, and I still have it for the original Sonic Adventure. But Sonic Adventure 2 was not a good game. But that doesn't especially matter in the grand scheme of folks wanting Sonic Adventure free, because the real reason they want it is so they can have a meaningful narrative back. What folks have been missing a lot from Sonic games is what they dub a more meaningful, mature narrative. The only problem with Sonic Adventure 2's narrative is it wasn't mature, no matter what people say. You can call it darker, sure, it was certainly darker and a bit more complex than most Sonic games, but it wasn't actually good. It was, okay, yeah, I'll take it back, it was more mature, but it wasn't good. And placing the prevalence on maturity over being good is a problem, and it's become really prevalent. Folks want Sonic Adventure free and that kind of story and stuff, because that's what they played when they were kids. It's what we grew up with, it's what we were like, oh wow, this was really good back then, I'm sure it'd be just as good as if they did it now. It won't be. We've all grown up since Sonic Adventure 2, and even if you like it, it's like, as a majority at this point, Sonic Adventure 2 is not widely considered a good game anymore. The Sonic stages were awesome, the rest of it was crap, and the story just kind of got really bad. You can call it dark and all that, but it was bad in terms of structure and all that. It was just kind of piss. Now, this kind of narrative is what a lot of people think Sonic needs, and I'm not saying that the narrative in recent Sonic games is good. Sonic Lost World's story, for example, and the way it's structured and the writing is abysmal. It's shit. But I'm not saying going back to Sonic, we can't go from one extreme to another. At the same time, it wouldn't even be going from an extreme, we'd be going from shit to shit. In my opinion, something that nailed a decent Sonic story was, weirdly, Sonic Heroes. Sonic Heroes had a perfectly light-hearted story, all things considered, but it still weaved in slightly more complex plot threads like the Shadow Android thing, without going into full edge territory like Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06 did. It was something that was down to earth, it felt like a Sonic game, and that was a good narrative. Now, in terms of the writing, this is a big issue. Now, Sonic's writing, I didn't mind it in Sonic Colors, I didn't especially mind it in Sonic Generations. Sonic Lost World was terrible, but as far as I'm concerned, story for me will always take a backseat to the gameplay. Now, I'm not saying Sonic doesn't need a story. Yes, it does. Sonic needs a narrative, it needs somewhere to go, you need a purpose for battling Dr. Eggman and all that. Even if that reason is just Eggman's being a dickhead, go punch him. But acting like this narrative is something that is required to be more mature, more sophisticated, I'm going to be blunt, it isn't. Sonic, end of the day, now obviously Sonic is a game for anybody that enjoys it. I'm friggin' 18 in like 2 months and I still enjoy Sonic, and it's a game for all ages. But you're gonna have to understand, it's part of demographics. He's a blue hedgehog, a blue talking hedgehog. Sonic was always marketed to kids. No matter how you spin it, Sonic is very much a kids franchise. He's bright and colourful, he's whimsical, he's always talking and chatting. He is designed for kids. And again, I'm not saying that older people can't enjoy him, because I do. And And I'm not saying that this should mean they stay away from all the more complex storylines, because Sonic Heroes did fine, and you look at stuff like Gravity Falls, that's doing fine. But acting like Sonic needs to go into a dark place like Shadow or Sonic Adventure 2 again, it doesn't make sense. It's not a good narrative, it's not a good place for Sonic to go. Sonic Boom, as maligned as the games were, the show is actually pretty good. And it has been working, it has been getting new Sonic fans. The ratings for Sonic Boom the show have been insane. It's working. Sonic is still targeting kids as a demographic, and it's working. And that's a good route to go down, because it's good for Sega's business. We can't just pretend that Sega's some kind of magical factory that runs off fans' dreams and aspirations and joy. We have to understand that Sega is a business, it needs to make money, and it does that through targeting its demographic. And targeting its demographic means they can't just give in to the whims of the die-hard Sonic fans, because that would be targeting a niche, and it wouldn't work. It's why games, like Japanese games, can be a hard sell to localise, because there's not usually going to end up being a market there. So, basically what I'm saying is, Sonic can't just target the die-hard fans, and no matter how many people think they want Sonic Adventure 3 and the narratives and the dark narrative, that's not also what a lot of other people want. Because those narratives sucked. They really sucked. Or at least in a lot of people's opinions, they sucked. And sure, in a lot of people's opinions, they didn't suck. But you're never going to please everyone, and Sega's mindset is going to be more on pleasing the demographic that it's successfully building through the new narrative, which is the likes of Sonic Boom and stuff. So basically what I'm saying is kids are basically blame the kid demographic successfully liking the new Sonic stuff for the current shift to Sonic is kind of more comedic now. I'm not even saying blame kids for that, because as far as I'm concerned, that's fine. Make Sonic a more light-hearted series. I don't make it as the games as joke-heavy and bad as Sonic Lost World's writing, sure. But make sure the narrative makes sense, and it can be as light-hearted as it wants. Sonic does not need to go back to the days of Sonic Adventure 2's friggin' firing squad with Gerald in order to be successful, because even then, no matter how, even if they say they got a friggin' narrative over at that ridiculous Sonic Adventure 3 Facebook page, say they got the ridiculous dark narrative, if the game sucks, that means nothing. It means literally nothing. Because people play games. Don't watch games unless you're playing Metal Gear Solid, and Sonic is not Metal Gear Solid. It's a different game. Metal Gear Solid is paced differently. Sonic's a fast-paced action platformer. Metal Gear is a stealth game. It's inherently going to be slow. You're being sneaker. The pacing and the narrative work in conjunction. Sonic, with a deeper narrative and all that, and more of that kind of stuff, it wouldn't work as something along that line. I'm not saying that's a bit of an extreme. Sonic obviously doesn't have to go down the same path as Metal Gear in having all those crazy narratives. But pushing it towards that direction probably isn't a good move, because it's going to alienate the new narrative they've been building and the new narrative they've been successfully building. They don't need to go back to Sonic Adventure 2, because Sonic Adventure 2 wasn't even good, in my opinion. And in a lot of people's opinions. So, yeah. That is pretty much my 2 cents on the Sonic news drought of Sonic, of the 2016 and 2015, and on the Sonic Adventure 3 rumours, all that stuff. Basically what I'm saying is folks need to rely on nostalgia less for this. I see folks saying Ryan Drummond should come back. There's no logical reason for Ryan Drummond to come back at this point. Sega have no reason to bring him back. Now obviously I can understand liking Ryan Drummond. I love Ryan Drummond. He's a great voice actor. But there's no reason to bring him back. Shitty as it is, Sega are a business. They're going for a cheaper option with Roger Craig Smith. Roger Craig Smith, don't get me wrong, I say cheaper option. He is an incredible voice actor. He is my favourite Sonic voice actor. But Ryan Drummond's union complicates things. And that's something that Sega aren't just going to quickly move past. And bringing back Ryan Drummond would not inherently improve the quality of the games. At all. Like, even slightly. Because they are games, not voice actor reels. Even if you prefer Ryan Drummond to Roger Craig Smith, like, okay, I suppose it'll improve the game in the voice acting department, but what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? Sonic is not like I've said, Sonic's not a narrative-heavy game nowadays anyway. In fact, it never really was. I mean, you look back to Sonic 1. Sonic never started as a narrative-heavy series. It started as Sonic runs along, Bob's Eggman runs. I had someone try to sell me Sonic 3 and Knuckles as a story of torture, just so they didn't look so stupid when I pointed out Sonic was never a game about being as edgy as SA2. But it was never about being as edgy as SA2. Sonic has always been a franchise that kids can easily get into, easily understand. And you can say, Sonic Adventure 2 was easy to understand when I was a kid. Good for you. I don't care. Sonic Adventure 2 was a lot darker, and I can see it alienating folks. It's still kind of alienating. It's a blue hedgehog, and suddenly we've got Gerald in front of a firing squad. Like, shit. Chill. Sonic Unleashed was another thing that did a really great narrative without taking it into ridiculous edge territory. Now look, the Warthog was dumb and all that, but at the same time, it was still a successful narrative, and it didn't need to go back to Sonic Adventure levels of ridiculousness. I would be fine with an Unleashed style narrative again. That is all I want, and then a actually good Sonic game to go with it. That is my focus. Doom! Now, completely different genre. Doom it's got barely any story, but it's a fucking good game. It's one of the best games ever made. And it accomplished that without a ridiculously edgy narrative. It accomplished it with a hilarious narrative. So yeah. John Carmack once said that story in a game is like story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important. I don't entirely agree with that. It's definitely still really, like, it can make the backbone of a lot of games, such as Metal Gear Solid. But in Sonic's case, now again, I'm not saying Sonic doesn't need a story, but Sonic's story does not need to be some kind of epic. As long as it's just well written, and it doesn't have to go back to the edgy shite like all the Sonic Adventure 3 moaners want. It just needs to be good. Sonic needs to be good. And the games need to be good again. And I'm not saying Sonic needs to take a rest either, because that's a ridiculous thing. Sonic's already just had a rest. Sonic Team just need to focus on what makes Sonic work, and maybe then I'll trust them with doing a better narrative. But right now I just want them to put out a good Sonic game again, and maybe then they can focus on getting the narrative back up to snuff and not without doing it all edgier. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. This video was completely unscripted, as you might have guessed. So, yeah, I am Tracker TD, and this has been me basically ranting about Sonic the Hedgehog. Fun times. Just as a quick post-rant clarification, in case it didn't come off as clear enough in the rant, because it did kind of get heated back there, I don't think any less of people who like Sonic Adventure 2 or specifically want Sonic Adventure 3 in name. What I do have a problem with is when people take it to obnoxious or pretentious levels. So, for example, the Sonic Adventure 3 page on Facebook are a bunch of fucking children, and the True Sonic Spirit group, I think, are a bunch of arseholes, because True Sonic Spirit, could you sound any more pretentious about a series about a blue hedgehog? Stuff like that kind of acts as if there's some kind of definition for what the true version of Sonic is, and fuck off, no there isn't. That's just my last 2 cents on the whole Adventure 3 thing. Don't worry if you like Adventure 2, I don't hate you. I don't agree with you, but I don't hate you.